My husband mocked me, calling me the decoration of the house at a barbecue with his friends. He smirked, "She looks good, but that's about it." I laughed along, but took note. 6 days later, he woke up to an empty house, and a rental agreement in my name on the kitchen counter. The house wasn't his safety anymore. We'd been married for 12 years. 15 years together total. It wasn't always like this. He wasn't always like this. I think that's the part that messed with me the most. When I met Lennox, I was 27 and working part-time at a boutique interior design firm in downtown Astoria. He was 31, in the early days of building his real estate business, all charm and hustle, the kind of man who made every room feel warmer the moment he stepped in. We met during an open house for a 3-bedroom Victorian on Bond Street. I had staged it with vintage furniture, soft jazz playing in the background, and he'd walked in, looked around, and said, "Either you're magic or I'm in love." I laughed. He smiled. He called the next day, not about the house. About me. Back then, it felt easy. Natural. We fell into place. He'd bring me coffee during my long nights designing mood boards. I helped him edit his real estate flyers and update his website. We used to sit up at night talking about our dreams, his of owning a high-rise office in Portland, mine of opening my own design studio one day. We built each other. Or at least, I thought we did. The problem with slow-burning problems is that they don't come with red flags, they come with small, dull aches. A sigh when I showed him a new design. A shrug when I cooked dinner. A joke that felt a little too sharp. Then another. And another. They accumulate. The man who once left love notes in my lunch bag eventually stopped noticing when I got my hair done. I told myself it was just stress. That real love wasn't fireworks every day. That all marriages go through seasons. But I didn't realize mine had slipped into winter and stayed there. It was subtle at first. He'd interrupt me mid-sentence. Talk over me when we were with friends. One time, during dinner with his colleagues, I made a comment about a local design trend, and he laughed. "She's got strong opinions for someone who works out of her friend's antique shop." They laughed. I swallowed it. Another time, I was wearing a blue dress he used to love. He glanced up from his phone, said, "That's a little much, don't you think?" and went back to scrolling. It chipped away. And then came the barbecue. It was a casual Saturday. His idea, of course. He wanted to impress some colleagues from Portland, the guys, as he called them. We had just redone the backyard, and I'd spent 2 full days making sure it looked perfect. I strung lights, trimmed hedges, laid out a charcuterie board that looked like it belonged in a magazine. I marinated chicken, made homemade sangria, baked a lemon tart from scratch. The compliments rolled in from his friends. "Wow, Lennox, your wife knows how to host. This place looks amazing. Man, if my wife could cook like this," and then, that moment. One of the guys nudged Lennox and said, "You lucked out, man. She's gorgeous, cooks, decorates, what's the catch?" And Lennox, he laughed. Real hard. Took a sip of his beer and said, "She looks good, but that's about it. Honestly, she's the decoration of the house." It got quiet for a beat. Then they all laughed, loud and long. Like they were in on some inside joke I'd never been invited to. I stood there holding a tray of sliders, just 10 feet away. He knew I heard. He looked me dead in the eye after saying it. No flinch. No apology. And I smiled. Small. Tight. Like a hostess trying not to cry in front of guests. I stayed for the rest of the evening. I cleared plates. I laughed at bad jokes. I handed out extra napkins. I kept the sangria flowing. Inside, though, something snapped clean. The next morning, I got up at 6 a.m., made coffee, sat at the kitchen island, and opened my laptop. I started looking at rentals. I told no one. Not even Joelle, my best friend, the person I told everything to. I wanted it quiet. Clean. Just mine. I found a duplex, modest, but full of light, only 10 minutes away. The landlord was a widow named Hema who liked my calm energy and trusted me on site. She let me move in by Thursday. I sold a few antiques I'd inherited and a gold bracelet my grandmother left me. Enough to cover the deposit and 3 months' rent. I packed during the afternoons while Lennox was showing houses. I labeled every box in pencil, so I could erase the writing afterward. The movers were booked for Thursday morning. Quiet guys. No fuss. That night, I set my alarm for 5:45 a.m. Woke up, showered, dressed, and waited. By 6:15, the movers had arrived. By 7 o'clock, my side of the closet was empty. My books, gone. My favorite dishes, packed. My studio setup, dismantled. I left the bed, the couch, the appliances. All the things he valued. I took what I loved. On the kitchen island, I left the house key, the garage remote, and the rental agreement, signed, dated, with my new address at the bottom. On top, a single sticky note, decorations don't get tired. But I did. He didn't call that day. He didn't even notice until almost noon. When he did, the texts came fast. The voicemails too. Confused. Angry. Then pleading. Where are you? Are you okay? Why would you do this? Celeste, please. Just come home. Let's talk. But I was already home. Just not the one I shared with him. Joelle showed up that evening with Thai food and a bottle of wine. She didn't even ask why. She just hugged me, real long and quiet, and handed me a fork. I slept better that night than I had in years. The first few days in the new place were odd. It was like stepping into a silence that wasn't lonely. The kind of silence that comes after a long, thundering storm. Not empty, just still. Peaceful. My new walls were bare. The kitchen was smaller. The bathroom tiles weren't as new, and there was a soft creak in the hallway that I hadn't noticed during the walkthrough. But it felt like a blank page. The duplex had 2 bedrooms. I turned one into a workspace, hung up my design sketches, laid out color palettes, and even brought in my grandmother's old sewing table. I hadn't used it in years. I'd told myself I didn't have the time. But really? Lennox just took up all the space, physically, emotionally, mentally. Now, I could breathe. I muted Lennox's number after the 4th voicemail. I couldn't bring myself to block him just yet. But I wasn't answering either. He didn't deserve that access. On Saturday, Joelle and I went to the Astoria Sunday Market. She made me buy a clay wind chime from a booth run by a woman named Mabel who said her pieces were for transition energy. I didn't believe in that stuff, but I hung it up anyway. Every time it caught the breeze, it reminded me, I moved. I changed. I chose this. Lennox showed up on Tuesday. I saw his car, black Range Rover, polished to a shine, parked out front from my 2nd floor window. He didn't come to the door right away. Just sat there. Then finally, a knock. Not hard. Not angry. I opened the door halfway. He looked tired. Not physically, he was still in a tailored blazer, still smelled like expensive cologne. But his eyes, they were heavier. Sal, he said, almost in a whisper. I didn't respond. I didn't know. I didn't realize you were serious. I waited. I thought you were just upset. I figured you'd cool off, come around. You always did. I leaned against the frame. Maybe that was the problem. His jaw clenched like he wanted to argue. But he didn't. Instead, he looked past me, into the little living room behind me. No chandelier. No designer rug. Just a throw blanket, a warm lamp, and a stack of sketchbooks on the coffee table. You left, he said, like he was still trying to believe it. I did. I was joking, Sel. You know that, right? I was drinking. The guys were joking. I didn't mean anything. I know. You laughed, he added, desperate now. You laughed like you didn't care. I looked him dead in the eye. I laughed because I didn't want to cry. I laughed because I didn't want to ruin your big night in front of your colleagues. I laughed because I was exhausted. Silence. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, like he wanted to come in but knew better. I miss you, he finally said. I believed him. But I didn't care. Lennox, I said, gently, you miss the idea of me. Not me. He looked down. Then nodded. Once. Twice. He left without another word. And I didn't watch him drive away. The following week, I started journaling again. Not the fluffy kind I used to keep in college, with hearts and song lyrics. But real, raw, day-by-day unpacking. I wrote about the little ways I had disappeared over the years. The way my voice got softer. The way I stopped dancing in the kitchen. The way I started asking for permission to spend my own money. I started reclaiming those things. I played music while I cooked. Loud. I bought myself a new pair of paint-splattered overalls and reupholstered a chair I found at a thrift shop. I texted an old client from 3 years ago who'd once said, if you ever go independent, call me. I called her. She hired me to redesign her sunroom in Cannon Beach. 2 days later, she referred me to her sister in Seaside. Just like that, work started rolling in. One night, around midnight, I got a message from Lennox. I hadn't heard from him in 2 weeks. It was short. I cleaned out your side of the closet. Didn't throw anything out. It's in boxes in the garage. Let me know if you want it. No apology. Just logistics. It made me sad for him. Not angry. Just tired. He still didn't get it. This wasn't about clothes or closets. This was about never feeling like I belonged in the life I helped build. I replied the next morning. Thanks. I'll arrange to have them picked up. A month passed. Then another. Joelle convinced me to create an Instagram page for my work. I rolled my eyes but did it anyway. I started small, before and after shots, color theory posts, little captions about how good spaces can help people heal. To my surprise, people cared. I started getting messages from women. Lots of them. Some wanted to hire me. Others just said things like, this spoke to me. I feel like I've been invisible for years. Your story gives me hope. Thank you for reminding me it's not too late. I didn't even realize I was telling my story. But I guess I was. Every post, every design, every choice I made now, it all came from a place I used to bury under Lennox's shadow. I was digging myself out. And there was light. The summer drifted by slowly, like honey down the side of a jar. Astoria was always beautiful that time of year, gray skies breaking into soft golden evenings, the Columbia River glittering like it was hiding secrets, the coastal wind making everything feel cinematic. But this year, it felt different. Not better. Not worse. Just quieter. I'd get up early, pour myself a cup of coffee, and sit by the little balcony outside my bedroom. Piper, my rescue cat, would curl around my feet as I listened to the birds and watched the town start its day. I had no one asking me what was for dinner, no one reminding me that my little projects didn't bring in real money. It was just me, the soft clink of ceramic, and the quiet pride of being okay on my own. One morning, I got a message from someone I didn't recognize. The profile picture was a woman, blonde, probably mid-30s, smiling with 2 young kids on her lap. Hi Celeste. I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I got your info from a friend in Seaside who hired you. I love your style. I'm moving back to Astoria with my kids and I'm looking for help decorating a rental I'm moving into. Nothing fancy, just something that feels like a home again. Let me know if you're taking new clients. Her name was Alara. We met the next week at her place. A little craftsman house off Duane Street, with peeling white paint and a sagging porch swing. But inside, it had great bones, arched doorways, high ceilings, original hardwood floors under warped laminate. She offered me tea, and we sat cross-legged on her living room floor surrounded by boxes and toys. She told me her story in bits and pieces. Divorced. Moved back in with her mom temporarily. Got a job at the local library. Trying to start over with 2 small kids and a bank account that was mostly dust. I don't need anything extravagant, she said, almost embarrassed. Just somewhere my kids can sleep and feel safe. Somewhere I can breathe. I told her we could do that. And we did. I spent the next few weeks helping her paint, thrift furniture, hang curtains, and rearrange her living room so the light would hit just right in the morning. We shopped secondhand, upcycled old shelves, and turned a broken dresser into a play kitchen. Her daughter cried the day we unveiled it. I almost did too. That was the moment I realized I wasn't just designing spaces anymore. I was helping people feel at home in their lives again. And in the process, I was doing the same for myself. It was during that same week that I saw Lennox again. I was walking out of the Blue Scorcher Cafe with Joelle. She loved their honey oat muffins, and he was just there. Standing by his car, leaning against the driver's side door like he was waiting. For me? Maybe. Maybe not. He looked thinner. Not sick, just like someone had peeled back the polish a bit. We locked eyes. He straightened up, nodded once. I gave him a nod back. Joelle glanced at me, but didn't say a word. We walked right past him. But that night, curiosity got the best of me. I checked his social media for the first time since I'd left. He hadn't posted in months, which was unusual. Lennox used to post everything: closing deals, dinner dates, gym selfies, even filtered shots of our backyard back when I used to make it look like something out of a magazine. But now? Just one post. A photo of the fire pit from that infamous barbecue night. No people in it. Just the pit, the chairs still in place, and one sentence in the caption: "You don't notice silence until it's all you have left." I stared at it longer than I'd like to admit. Part of me felt pity. Another part felt vindicated. But the biggest part? It just felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not even nostalgia. Just emptiness. Like a chapter one once thought was the whole book had finally, fully ended. Work picked up after Alara's project. Her neighbor called me. Then her coworker. Then a local bakery in Cannon Beach wanted help with their new storefront. Suddenly, I had more clients than I could take on alone. Joelle jokingly offered to be my assistant, and we actually made it a thing. On paper, everything was going well. And emotionally? I was getting there. But healing isn't linear. It doesn't care about your new Instagram followers or your beautiful rented space or how many times you've said you're doing okay out loud. It hits when it wants to. Like one Sunday afternoon in September, when I opened an old tote bag and found a folded piece of paper tucked inside. It was one of those sticky notes. Lennox's handwriting. From years ago. "You make every space brighter. Don't ever forget that." I sat on the floor and stared at it for a long time. And then, without thinking, I crumpled it. Tossed it in the bin. I didn't need the reminder anymore. He was right about one thing: I did make every space brighter. But I didn't need him to say it. Joelle and I were sitting outside the shop one evening, sipping lemonade, when she asked the question I'd been waiting for. "Do you think he ever really loved you? Or just loved the way you made his life look?" It was quiet for a long time. I looked out at the river, sun dipping low, boats rocking gently. "I think he loved having me," I said. "The way you love a well-made table or a beautiful photo. Something that completes the picture. But not someone you see as real." She nodded slowly. "Yeah. That makes sense. We didn't talk about him again. There was no need. Time passed like water, quiet, steady, reshaping everything in small, invisible ways. By late autumn, my little design business had grown into something that didn't just pay the bills, it gave me a purpose. I started offering free consultations for women going through divorce or starting over. Some couldn't afford a full redesign, and I didn't care. We'd thrift. We'd paint. We'd figure it out together. Turns out, women like us? We build from scratch better than most. Joelle called it recovery through rearrangement. I just called it finally doing what I was meant to do. Word spread. Local papers ran a tiny feature on my story, From Broken to Beautiful, One Woman's Journey Through Design After Divorce. It was dramatic, sure, but people responded. My inbox filled with stories. Clients. Support. One afternoon, while measuring fabric for a window treatment, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. Hi, is this Celeste? This is Melody Green, I work with Green and Caldwell Properties. We're expanding into the North Coast and looking to redesign 3 of our model homes before the new year. Your name came up, a lot. I blinked. Green and Caldwell was a major firm in Portland. Top-tier real estate players. The kind Lennox used to chase for years, trying to get their attention. And now they were calling me. I agreed to meet with them in person at their Portland office. When I walked in, the receptionist greeted me like I was someone important. The team took me to lunch. They didn't ask for a portfolio, I'd been tagged in enough local projects that my name had started to carry weight. They wanted to collaborate. Offer me a flexible contract to stage their premium properties across the Oregon coast. Full creative control. Generous budget. By the time I got back to Astoria, my phone was buzzing. Joelle met me for drinks that night and screamed when I told her. You're going to smoke him, she said, raising her glass. I just smiled. I hadn't thought about Lennox in weeks. But now? Now I was about to walk into the very world he always believed he belonged to, and do it without him. That winter, I got an unexpected email. It was from a woman named Angela. The subject line just said, "Your ex-husband." I almost deleted it. But something made me open it. Hi Celeste. I'm sorry if this is out of the blue. I think you deserve to know, I started dating Lennox about 6 months ago. He was charming, said he was recovering from a difficult marriage. But something didn't sit right. I found some old texts between you two he hadn't deleted. Sticky notes. Even photos of your design work. He still talks about you like a ghost he can't outrun. He said once, when he was drunk, that you'd destroyed him with grace. I wanted you to know, he's still trying to impress the people you're now working for. But he's not doing well. No one's buying the pitch anymore. Anyway, I'm done with him. But I admire what you've done. You seem like someone who turned pain into something strong. Just wanted to say, good for you. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed the email and took a deep breath. Destroyed him with grace? Maybe I had. But that wasn't the goal. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's not a slammed door, or a shout, or a dramatic confrontation in a restaurant. Sometimes, it's this, living in a space you created, surrounded by things you chose. Watching the man who belittled you become irrelevant. Turning your pain into profit. Helping other women heal. Being more than just a decoration in someone else's life story. Being the architect of your own. I never responded to Angela. There was nothing to say. She'd already seen it for herself. The last time I saw Lennox was at a real estate networking event in Portland, a year after the barbecue. I was there to debut one of the homes I'd designed for Green and Caldwell. It was a modern craftsman with bold lines and cozy finishes, a house that looked expensive but still warm. I'd spent 3 months on it, and the feedback had been glowing. Lennox walked in with one of his associates. I saw him before he saw me. He was wearing the same jacket he always wore to events. Still clean cut. Still charming on the surface. But there was something hollow behind the eyes. He looked around the house like it was foreign. He didn't know I was the designer. Until he asked. He was talking to one of the green reps, gesturing at the crown molding, the reclaimed wood beams. "This is nice," he said. "You guys bring in someone from LA or Seattle for this?" The rep smiled. "Nope. All local." Celeste Crane. His face dropped. Just for a second. Just long enough. I didn't approach him. I didn't need to. I simply walked past him with confidence, clipboard in hand, thanked a couple who had just toured the kitchen, and took a glass of champagne from the tray of a passing waiter. He watched me. And I smiled. A small, soft, knowing smile. Not cruel. Just certain. That was the last time I saw him.